let's talk about those villains now. We've got Max von Sydow, who is a famous screen villain in a lot of ways. We've got Oscar Isaac, who they're describing him as a Han Solo type. Maybe he's a villain. We've got Adam Driver, who's been reported as this series kind of equivalent to Darth Vader. And then we've also got Andy Serkis, master of motion capture, in this film.
Explain who Max von Sydow is.
Well, Max von Sydow, first of all, I just got to point out how much I love that Star Wars was only because George Lucas couldn't get the rights to Flash Gordon. So now they have actual Ming the Merciless from Flash Gordon in a Star Wars movie. It's come full circle. But Goldman, you had some speculation that maybe Max von Sydow is like an old Imperial commander who's basically, it almost sounds like he's kind of like a Nazi war criminal or like Laurence Olivier in Marathon Man. He's been on the run.
Yeah, that was just more my idea of like what would be interesting, what would be cool. Because I know when you hear he's being cast, you're like, oh, he can play like an old Sith Lord. But it's more likely, I don't know. It's like if he's this older character, and you think about this is 30 years after Star Wars, like who would he have been back then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was thinking, like, what if he was like one of those?
He's old Captain Nita.
Yeah, like one of those guys in gray.
Oh, wait, he's dead though. Right?
Yeah. So it's poor Admiral Piet too. But yeah, it's like he's one of those dudes in gray, and again, I don't think they're going to want to go the direct EU route, especially 30 years later. They should have at this point cleaned up any remnants of the Empire. But there always is that idea of like, what happened to these people? Where are they? And so that was like one thing I thought might be interesting, unless they go the more direct, like Count Dooku-ish, give him a lightsaber.
What sort of villain do we think Adam Driver could be?
Don't you think that I feel like with I think you have the perfect pairing in those two actually. We had this kind of minor scuffle about this earlier, but like you've got to find a way to harness the dark side of the Force. Like there's no way that it's just going to be like we're evil because we like corporations and taking over the like, you know what I mean? They're going to be harnessing the dark side of the Force. So I mean, what makes you this was the question. What makes you a Sith Lord? Like who would have passed that down? Well, maybe there's some kind of a holobook. I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of information, but somebody's
Sith
going.
holocron.
The Sith holocron, right?
They could go to the homeworld of the Sith.
But wasn't it that the villains were always like, weren't they like kind of like sleeper agent types? Like at least in Phantom Menace, like they'd been around for a while. Or something?
There was that whole thing of that the Sith had been laying low until that trilogy. But I mean, I guess my question, because there's no way they're not going to have someone holding a red lightsaber, right?
Right.
Yeah.
In this movie. But it is weird because it puts you in that weird spot of how much do you want to undo the end of Return of the Jedi when like the Sith are completely destroyed. And so how much do you want to kind of undo everything that happened with Anakin and Vader to say like, oh, the Sith came back again. But I do think there's ways around it, because it can be something like if Adam Driver's character is sort of a new Sith, is he someone, who's like, read the lore, found a holocron?
Wouldn't there be some fascination with your famous evil grandfather? Like if you found out your grandfather was essentially Hitler, wouldn't you'd come across something that maybe they had
or
that
maybe
might not be a good thing to have?
Yeah, or maybe there's an older mentor type person who's like, who'd be great to carry out is this grandson of this person. Like maybe I just feel like it doesn't there's no way that that's not going to play a part in this trilogy. It's not going to be that the villains are disconnected from the dark side.
Yeah, here's my theory is that Adam Driver he'll spend the whole trilogy like with a hat on, and then in episode 3 he'll be palling around with them and helping them out with stuff. Maybe he'll be the love interest of Daisy and stuff, and then he'll take off the hat, horns, Darth Maul's son. Darth Maul's son.
See, I was thinking he would be Jar Jar's kid.
How about
he pulls it and he has two eyeballs?
Yeah.
How about?
Oh yeah, who is Andy Serkis going to be? That's something to talk about.
Andy Serkis. I mean, Eric and I were speculating in a separate piece about how, maybe he's playing more than one character like he has before, like in King Kong. He's a fine dramatic actor, but he's also like, the motion capture guy. Do you think he could be playing an Imperial commander, or could he be just some sort of creature?
He's going to be when they return to the Sarlacc pit.
I think
He's
we have
Max
to
Rebo.
assume
he's
going to be wearing some mocap.
Yeah.
Maybe not, like you said, he can play multiple roles, but...
Well, he could be a mocap Imperial. Like, there's got to still be pockets of Imperial officers. Just because you blew up the Death Star doesn't mean there's not Star Destroyers.
A mocap Imperial officer?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like an alien?
Well,
in the suit.
Imperials only work with humans. Unless they're working with bounty hunters.
That's
but
right,
yeah, it's
that's
only
right,
humans.
Ah,
Emperor's very
did
racist.
not
But
know
I
that.
do
No,
think
makes sense, I
you're
guess,
gonna.
for
This is Star Wars, and you're gonna want to have some new creatures because he could also be the equivalent of the new Chewbacca, right? It's like someone in their group because this is a universe populated with all
God.
these different alien
Jackson
races.
the Rabbit.
So,
The green
so you
rabbit
don't
dude.
want it. So I feel like they're not going to want to just be again humans running around. They're going to have some sort of alien presence with them.
Yeah.
It's very possible that
That
Serkis
is
is playing.
That is a delicate matter. Because that's tough in the sense of like, and I was saying this earlier, like I think what's going to be really interesting about this is like generationally how people connect with Star Wars, and like I personally am the most connected to that original trilogy. That's what lives inside here. But I think probably there might be people that are more connected with the EU. Stop looking at my boobs now. More people that are connected with the animated series, things like that, with the prequels, things like that. But what's cool about Andy Serkis, I have a point. What's cool about Andy Serkis' presence is that what some of us missed was the puppets, like Chewbacca, like an actual man in a suit. Is that the mocap brings in the possibility that it is this combination. What we didn't like was that CG element, like the Jar Jar sort of just CG element, among other things that people didn't like about that character. He can bring in that organic element and be a presence with them that feels like a real presence the way that Chewbacca did.
Yeah.
And he could be anything. I mean, this could be
And he's
the
a damn fine actor,
craziest looking
so
creature.
you know it's going to be good.
I mean, this could be outside of bounds bananas looking creature.